Are you just a big suck up, Heidi? Yes. Okay, get in the back. Good girl. Look at all the coyotes over there. There's about 4 of them over there in that field. Wolf's different animal. You don't know when he's coming back. You know, he's got such a big range that he travels. He's boss dog out there. There's no doubt. He's more aggressive. When he does come into his head, he's more bold. She's putting out heat now. You know, my preference is trapping. I like to be out there in the wilds and in the environment. The other passion is lure making, or scent making, I would call it. And I've done that, you know, pretty much most of my life. So, I mean, if I had to give one up, I don't know, it'd probably be, that's a tough call. Well, it started back when, about 1972, I'm guessing, when coyote prices were pretty high back then, and I was a kid with no money, and I knew my Uncle Charlie, who had been a trapper, and I'd been down there, and I'd seen him catch coyotes and that sort of thing, and I thought, well, jeepers, you know, you're getting $50, $60 for a coyote. That's like $1 million to a kid. So Dad told me, he said, well, you need to get some of Charlie's lure. So I sent him a letter. He only lived 20 miles away, but back then you just didn't drive a truck over there for nothing. So anyways, I waited, and this was like, I guess, November, and finally December, the letter shows up from Charlie. Of course, I hadn't slept the night, you know, waiting to hear. That won't be long now to warm up. The letter shows up, and there's a little box there, and there was 2 bottles of coyote lure. When I cracked it, and, you know, it was one of those smells I'd never ever smelt before. I just fell in love with it that day, and I went out and I made some sets over the next couple of days, and I landed 2 coyotes. Well, there I was, a millionaire now, so I was kind of hooked. I was fascinated with how I could take something and bring an animal in and catch it. That was basically where it all stemmed from. And then trapping and lure making, you know, come from that moment on. That's, to me, is a no-no. We don't want the animal to roll in. You want the animal to step into the trap pattern or trap area. Because rolling, it just allows him to, a better chance of setting that trap off. By shoulder rolling or rolling over like a dog. We're talking canines in this instant. But, so if you want to change that, make sure that you don't have anything in there that's rotten. So you can add essential oils that are very attractive to some species, and take them away from that. It's a complicated process. You know, as a lure maker, I learn as much from the people that are using it, because I can't be everywhere, and so the feedback I get from people is very important, and huge growth in my business. It was all information that helped me determine which ingredient or which base to use, or stuff like that. So it's not just trappers. Trappers is one portion of it. A huge play comes in with the animal damage, the nuisance control guys. You know, okay, they're doing their thing in the summer, off season. The other thing is I'm heavily involved with the government and doing DNA samples on the grizzly bears and mink in Italy. I've done that. And lynx in Finland. And the wolverine study, I've been involved with that for years. Like I think we touched on it earlier, there's a lot of natural ingredients out there, whether it's a root or a leaf or or something out of a plant that's attractive to that animal. And each animal is different, of course. I'll talk about one would be the asafoetida, which comes from a onion garlic type plant. This is the pure gum. It comes out of India. I have it imported myself. It's very, very attractive to a lot of canines, and it's a very strong odor. It comes out of the garlic family. They use it in all their cooking pretty much. If you go to India, that's what they're using in their cooking. There's some good lure makers out there, and then there's some bad ones out there. Well, there's a lot of them out there, more so in south of the border here in the United States. Most of the guys that survived the test of time, they've been around since the 80s, and they're making a good product, or they wouldn't be around. But there's a lot of fly-by-night guys that have come out, and next thing you know, they're a lure maker and they're pounding it in a bottle, and it's no more than ground up dog food with skunk essence or something. Who knows? It's not a recipe. It's not a blend. It's just whatever. Most of my lures are very thick in consistency, and they'll stand up to the weather. They're not runny. Like there's some guys got lures out there. You just like Kool-Aid, and the color of Kool-Aid, some of it. And it's not going to hold up whether it's in the desert or in Alaska. The other thing you'll notice with a lot of the commercial lures is the separation in the bottles. Like 3 or 4 different sediments in the bottle, so your odors are separate too. When you've released it, your odors are separate, so they're not. When you fix your lure, it's got to be perfectly blended so it never changes and the odor's the same. Because I'm a trapper myself, like not all lure makers are trappers, and they don't understand what you're trying to accomplish. So. It's getting towards evening now, and typically the beaver come out just before dark, so we're hoping that within an hour we'll have a beaver come up, and we're going to try to film him, his reaction when he does smell the lure, and how far away does it bring him in, what kind of reaction we get out of him. It's more of an information thing that we're doing here today to see what kind of results we can get out of the lure. Look at that. Did you get it? If you come out every night for a week, they'd get used to you. Well, the problem is that he's slapped his tail, and everybody that's on alert, because everybody around this pond, including the house, hears that vibrations coming up into their run. They can hear that, so now they know that there's something going on out there. It can work both ways. Sometimes the curiosity kills the cat, so you get the old top dog. He might want to come out right away to see what the heck's going on out here. There he is. I think it's pretty common knowledge that most animals are territorial, and you catch a beaver in one area, you take that gland out, and you take it to another area. That beaver's going to know that it's from a different pond, and it's going to get them pretty aggressive to find out if another male or something's moved in, There's much more that you can do with that particular castoreum. Is a wonderful, wonderful product. But just castoreum itself is one thing, but you can take that castoreum and blend it with 3 or 4 different ingredients and put it out side by side, and you'll get a totally different reaction and a better calling distance, okay? Or if you think that's not enough, you can add a curiosity type. But I can tell you one thing, that a lure that's properly blended and one that's straight caster is two different animals. I mean, you watch a beaver, and I've done it hundreds of times. When I'm out there fishing, I'm always testing and watching, and I'll take a bobber and smear some lure on it and throw it out by a beaver if I know he's coming by, and see what kind of reaction you get. And, it's all learning. I mean, that's all part of it, eh? See if he gets wind of that. And I buy a lot of castorium. I buy 200 or 300 pounds a year for my personal use for the business, but the price is going up and up. The beaver price pelt is down, and the demand, for the perfumery, cosmetics, they use it in cosmetics where it's a natural preservative. The ladies, in their powders and stuff, they've tried the synthetics, it just doesn't work. So they're going back to the real deal here, and it's a natural preservative. And you can't go wrong with nature. Most cases, I mean, it's natural, right? So it's a big demand. I've learned a lot from different lure makers. I've traveled to New York, spent time on a porch many times with an old lure maker down there in the state of New York, and that was some memorable moments of my life. I suppose, if the right fella come along, it's hard to find somebody that would be stupid enough to do what I do some days, because it gets pretty ugly out there. I mean, you're dealing with some products and stuff that it's not, most of it's pretty good. I don't believe in rotting stuff down per se. Most of my stuff is kept fresh. A lot of guys will take a bunch of stuff and throw it in a jar and rot it down. That's not my style. I don't like that. I don't want animals to roll in my lure. I want them to come in and work it and dig it and lick or whatever, but not rolling. They're going to knock your trap off or something. So I do supply a lot of lure makers with ingredients. I won't mention names, of course, but it's a big part of my business because they know I have a good product, so they can rely on getting the good stuff from me, and we just, or sometimes I trade with them. They may have something that I need. Works both ways, but it's pretty secretive. I mean, it goes back to that Colonel Sanders thing. Colonel Sanders isn't telling A&W what he's up to. I mean, you don't go around telling everybody what you're up to.